The New York Daily News, officially titled The Daily News, is an American newspaper based in New York City. It was founded in 1919 by Joseph Medill Patterson as the Illustrated Daily News. It was the first U.S. daily printed in tabloid format. It reached its peak circulation in 1947, at 2.4 million copies a day. As of 2019, it was the 11th highest circulated newspaper in the United States. Today's Daily News is not connected to the earlier New York Daily News, which shut down in 1906. The Daily News is owned by parent company, Tribune Publishing. This company agreed in May 2021 to be acquired by Alden Global Capital, which operates its media properties through Digital First Media. The transaction is set to be finalized on June 30, 2021. The Illustrated Daily News was founded by Patterson and his cousin, Robert R. McCormack. The two were co-publishers of the Chicago Tribune and grandsons of Tribune Company founder Joseph Medill, as an imitation of the successful British newspaper Daily Mirror. When Patterson and McCormack could not agree on the editorial content of the Chicago paper, the two cousins decided at a meeting in Paris that Patterson would work on the project of launching a Tribune-owned newspaper in New York. On his return, Patterson met with Alfred Harmsworth, who was the Viscount Northcliffe and publisher of the Daily Mirror, London's tabloid newspaper. Impressed with the advantages of a tabloid, Patterson launched the Daily News on June 26, 1919. As Illustrated Daily News, the Daily News was owned by the Tribune Company until 1993. The Daily News was not an immediate success, and by August 1919, the paper's circulation had dropped to 26,625. Still, New York's many subway commuters found the tabloid format easier to handle, and readership steadily grew. By the time of the paper's first anniversary in June 1920, circulation had climbed over 100,000 and by 1925, over a million. Circulation reached its peak in 1947, at 2.4 million daily and 4.7 million on Sunday. The Daily News carried the slogan, New York's Picture Newspaper, from 1920 to 1991. For its emphasis on photographs, a camera has been part of the newspaper's logo from day one. The paper's later slogan, developed from a 1985 ad campaign, is, New York's hometown newspaper, while another has been, the eyes, the ears, the honest voice of New York. The Daily News continues to include large and prominent photographs for news, entertainment and sports, as well as intense city news coverage, celebrity gossip, classified ads, comics, a sports section, and an opinion section. News gathering operations were, for a time, organized by staff using two-way radios operating on 173.3250 MHz, allowing the assignment desk to communicate with its reporters who used a fleet of radio cars. Excelling in sports coverage, prominent sports cartoonists have included Bill Gallo, Bruce Stark and Ed Muravinsky. Columnists have included Walter Canner. Editorial cartoonists have included C.D. Batchelor. In 1948, the News established WPIX, whose call letters were based on the News's nickname of New York's Picture Newspaper, and later bought what became WPIX-FM, which is now known as WFAN-FM. The television station became a Tribune property outright in 1991, and remains in the former Daily News building. The radio station was purchased by Emmys Communications, and since 2014 has been owned by CBS Radio as an FM simulcast of its AM namesake. The paper briefly published a Monday to Friday afternoon counterpart, Daily News Tonight, between August 19, 1980 and August 28, 1981. This competed with the New York Post, which had launched a morning edition to complement its evening newspaper in 1978. Occasional, PM editions were published as extras in 1991. During the brief tenure of Robert Maxwell as publisher, from August 10, 1978, to November 5, 1978, a multi-union strike shut down the three major New York City newspapers. No editions of the News were printed during this time. in 1982, and again in the early 1990s during a newspaper strike. The Daily News almost went out of business. In the 1982 instance, the parent Tribune company offered the tabloid up for sale. In 1991, millionaire Robert Maxwell offered financial assistance to the News to help it stay in business. Upon his death later that year, the News seceded from his publishing empire, which soon splintered under questions about whether Maxwell had the financial backing to sustain it. Existing management, led by editor James Wills, held the News together in bankruptcy. Wills became interim publisher after buying the paper from the Tribune company. Mort Zuckerman bought the paper in 1993. The News also maintains local bureaus in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens, at City Hall, within one police plaza, and at the various state and federal courthouses in the city. In January 2012, former News of the World and New York Post editor Colin Myler was appointed editor-in-chief of the Daily News. Myler was replaced by Hi.